Well, good afternoon. Trucker Todd here, and it's time for another video. Today, I want to talk about a couple of things. With it being Christmas, a lot of you are on home time. I hope each of you made it home safely and that you're driving safely and courteous so others make it home as well. So in this video, I want to talk about Roadrunner's home time policy and what the recruiters tell you and what it is in actuality. And then I want to talk about requesting time off, not only at Roadrunner, but with any company, how I do it to ensure that I get home when I need to be home, and how I get back out when I need to be out, and things of that nature. And then finally, I want to talk about conflict resolution. And I think that's an important topic. It definitely has been an important topic for me this week. I had a few issues, and to the point that Friday I was ready to just quit. And then cooler heads prevailed, and solutions came along, and everything worked out. So I want to talk about what to do when you and your company don't see eye to eye, or what to do when you and your spouse don't see eye to eye, or, things like that. How do you resolve those issues? And before we do, I want to tell you what's coming up, and make sure that you get liked and subscribed. Click that little bell notification so that when I put out these other videos, you'll see them. You'll get a notification when they come out. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And give me a thumbs up or even a thumbs down. It lets YouTube know that you're watching and you're interested, and it gets me moved up higher in the algorithms to where more people can benefit from this information. Coming up in my next video, unless something crazy happens in trucking that I need to talk about before that, we're going to talk about, for a couple of months, I've wanted to get switched to the OmniTrax ELD. I was told it'd probably be the end of the first quarter before we started getting them. They've already started having them at Roadrunner. I got one of the first ones. I was told I was in the top 30. It wasn't for any other reason than I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. But I want to tell you what I think about the OmniTrax ELD. I want to tell you about the experience getting it set up with Roadrunner Freight. And so I hope you'll join me for those videos. I promise you it's not going to be your same old boring ELD review. So you'll sure want to catch that, especially if maybe you're a small fleet owner and you're considering switching to the OmniTrax ELD system, or if your company is talking about switching to it and you're wondering what to expect, and so forth. And then finally, to finish out the year, I thought it'd be kind of fun to make 2020 predictions about trucking and about Roadrunner Freight. I don't have any kind of inside knowledge. This is information I've gained from reading and talking to different people. But I'll share with you my thoughts on the trucking industry as a whole, Roadrunner Freight as a whole, and it'll be fun. So I hope you'll join me for those things. But now let's jump back into the topic of today. When I talked to my recruiter, I didn't even bring it up because in my experience, when you lease the truck, you go home when you want to, you stay when you want to, with the understanding that it's going to affect you financially, just like it affects you financially if you're a company driver, but maybe to a greater extent. So the recruiter brought up, hey, are you willing to stay out at least 3 weeks at a time? I said, yes. Now, in reality, what it's been at Roadrunner, I've never had anybody question me when I wanted to go home. I usually do stay out 3 or 4 weeks at a time, but I have passed by the house during those times, a lot more than that. Nobody's ever said nothing as long as I deliver my loads on time. So I think while they would like you to stay out 3 or 4 weeks at a time, I don't know how thoroughly that's enforced. They're pretty lenient and understanding about home time. I've had to come for doctor's appointments and all kinds of things. They've always made it But let's talk about why that is. And it's not just at Roadrunner. I've had success getting home time with pretty much every company I've ever been with. For one thing I do is as soon as I know I need a day off, I send a text message, or at some companies, an Omnitrax message. The reason is you want documentation, to where, hey, they're busy, they forget. If they forget, then they can go back and look and, oh yeah, you did say you needed to be off that day. Secondly, I always request a day before when I really need to be there. And I learned this early in truck driving when I worked at Swift back in the 90s. I thought it was like a normal job, and I need to do a video about how I got into trucking. I really didn't know very much when I got started. But I thought, hey, if you need to be off Wednesday at 3, say, hey, I need to be home Wednesday morning. Well, doing that, a lot of times you'll miss your time. So now if I need to be home Wednesday at 3, I put off for Tuesday morning. And almost always make it. Roadrunner's never missed. I have had some companies that, for extenuating circumstances, things out of their control, I've missed it, but 9 times out of 10, I'll hit my home time. Secondly, when it gets closer to the date, I'm doing a couple of things. One, I'm monitoring where I'm going, and I'm going, hey, if I take this load, are you still going to be able to get me home on this day? And I'm sending a reminder text maybe 5 or 6 days before. Reminder, I'm supposed to be off on Tuesday for this. Now, in this case here, and some of this is my fault. I was in Georgia. They didn't have a terminal-to-terminal load. They had a load coming straight to Lubbock, a backhaul/broker load. And I said, I'll take it. It had a Monday delivery, which today's Monday, but we were going to try to get the appointment earlier. Okay. I, in hindsight, wish I would have taken another load and then tried to get another load to Lubbock. But I had a bunch going on, family members in the hospital and stuff, and I wanted to get back as quick as I can. And so I ended up getting here Friday, and I'll leave the day after Christmas more than likely, provided there's freight. But so sometimes you may get home, just because you say you want to be home Tuesday, the point I was trying to make, you might be home Monday or Sunday or Saturday, just because that's what's available at the time. And you have to be a little open-minded and realize that may happen. Also, excuse me, voice is going away again. Like at Thanksgiving, I had planned to go out on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, but the broker said there's not really a whole lot, so I went ahead and stayed till Monday. Just because you want to go back out on a certain day doesn't mean it's always possible, so you have to have a little flexibility in that as well. But I think Roadrunner's excellent about getting you home when you need to be home, and I think most companies are pretty good. So with that being said, let's move into the next part of this. Let's talk about conflict resolution. And there's a couple of things that are in your control when it comes to conflict resolution, and there's some things that are out of your control. In order for conflict resolution to be successful, both sides have to want to resolve the issue. Some people just like drama and turmoil. And if you're one of those people, it's going to be difficult to come up with a solution for you. Now, this week, I was pretty upset on Friday, and that's why I hadn't put a video in a while, because I was going to wait and see how this all played out. And I've mentioned kind of what was going on. I had talked to everybody I could talk to, and not been able to come up with any kind of solution. And then I talked to that guy that I've mentioned in several videos that I really like. His first initial is B. And I talked to my IC coordinator. Her initial is S. I don't mention any names on here. I just do initials. Whether I'm talking good or bad about them, I do that. And my fleet coordinator, I tried for 2 days to get a hold of him. His initial starts with T. On the second day, I finally did get a hold of him, and he had been sick and super busy in the office. And we had a conversation, but while I was talking to him, the guy that his initial starts with B was calling. I was like, hey, I'm going to have to call you back. And time got away from me, and I ended up not being able to call him back. But I want to talk about each one of them for a second, because each of these personalities, no matter if you're at Roadrunner or other companies, you're going to meet people like this. And hopefully, the thing I like about Roadrunner as a whole is I haven't met any dishonest people or outright liars. Everybody, now they can be wrong, and I can be wrong, but they don't purposefully try to deceive you. And so that makes it a little bit different situation, because you know the guy or girl on the other end of the phone is an honest, good person just trying to do the right thing. So let's start with my IC coordinator. First of all, no matter how busy she is, she always finds time to take my call, take my text, call me back. 9 times out of 10, within 5 minutes of my first phone call, I'm talking to her. Now, sometimes she'll text me and say, hey, I'm real busy. Can I call you in a little bit? And I'll say, yeah, that's fine. But she should be teaching a class on time management, because I know she's extremely busy, but she's always on top of communication. I've never once asked her a question and her said, I've got to get back to you, that she didn't respond back either that day or the next morning. And usually if it's the next morning, she'll text me and say, hey, it's going to be in the morning before I know anything. Is that okay? So I'm real impressed with her time management skills. I mentioned that to her on Friday. I think a lot of people, not only at Roadrunner, but even me personally, we could all learn from her time management skills. And like I said, I think she ought to make a video talking about it, because she's got to be very organized or something to stay on top of as much as she stays on top of. Let's talk about my fleet coordinator. Now, I did mention that it took me 2 days to get a hold of him. He did apologize when he called me. I would have liked it if he could have shot me a short text, hey, I'm real busy right now, can I get back to you? That did not happen. But when he called, I was still pretty upset. I was ready to quit, and I told him that. And instead of arguing with me and saying, no, Todd, you're wrong, he was sympathetic. He's like, hey, I understand why you feel that way. And at that point, that's what I needed. I didn't need a confrontation. I needed somebody to listen and say, hey, I get it. And the guy, fleet coordinator, initial starts with T, he did just that. So he read the situation, and instead of trying to win an argument with me, his little bit of empathy and understanding helped me to calm down a little bit. Okay. As a last resort, nuclear option, I called the guy that his initial starts with B and told him the same story. Let me see how I can say this. He wanted to help, but he really didn't know what he could do. I had pretty much covered all the avenues that could be covered. He said, hey, the only thing I know to do is call this one guy that his initial starts with M. He's one of the higher ups at Ascent Logistics. So I said, all right. He said, hey, I probably won't know nothing today, but somebody will contact you on Monday, either me or him, or he said, I'll have somebody get in touch with you on Monday. Well, I wasn't real optimistic. I left that conversation thinking, hey, there's probably nothing good going to come out of this. I kind of had a negative attitude. As I said, I was pretty upset, and I was ready to hang it up. And that's something about conflict resolution. You know, I used to have a sales manager that'd say, learn from the donkey. And in this case, I'm the donkey. It's hard to resolve a conflict when you're upset. And so before you contact anybody with whatever issue you've got, first of all, try to put yourself in their shoes and think of it from their perspective. And then evaluate yourself and see what your attitude is like and think, am I in the best frame of mind to be discussing this right now? Do I want a solution or do I just want to argue? Now, fortunately, like I said, the weekend came, cooler heads prevailed. It looks like this situation's all going to be worked out. And it looks like the solution is going to be something that me and the guy that his initial starts with B, neither one of us thought this was an option. Sorry, getting an incoming call. Neither one of us realized this was an option. He's definitely thinking outside of the box. If I'd have blown up and quit on Friday, we would have never got to that situation or to that point. Hold on just a second. I got to let my dog in. Okay, and I'm back. Sorry about that. So that's something to think about, and it can be hard in the heat of a situation when there's stress involved, and it's already more stressful at the holidays with Christmas and traffic and finances and everything else. December and January are typically tough. Whoa, boy, let me try that again. December and January are typically tough months to be a truck driver. And so just keep those things in mind. Now, there's some more people that I want to talk about here over at Ascent Logistics. The first one is the guy that I deal with on a regular basis. His name starts with a Z. I've said in previous videos, when I first started working with him, we had a lot of hiccups. I wasn't sure if it's going to work out. He's turned out to be a great guy. This whole situation, I don't think it was a case of dishonesty as much as it was wishful thinking and miscommunication. So I still think the world of this guy. He's been a great asset, I guess would be the word we want to use when it comes to me needing a backhaul or broker load to get home or to get to a specific area. And so the guy that initial starts with Z over Ascent Logistics has been really good. Also, while I'm talking about Ascent Logistics, I recommend them as a brokerage company. They always seem to have loads going where I need to go. For the most part, the rates are decent paying. And so I've got a lot of good to say about them. I haven't had a lot of complications or problems on the loads they've gave me. Now, in this little dilemma we had, I had to talk to his boss this morning. His initial starts with an M. And he's also a great guy, very compassionate, really concerned about my situation and wanting to do the right thing. And so I've got a lot of good to say about Ascent Logistics also. And so that's probably all I'm going to say for now. I'll take that back. There is one more thing I want to say. In a video about a week or two ago, I said that Roadrunner Freight was probably the second best company I'd ever worked for. I now feel comfortable saying that Roadrunner is the best company I've ever worked for. Between the insurance benefits I just signed up for and how they found a solution outside the box to fix this situation this week that I was very stressed out about, the amount of compassion and concern that everybody's shown, and just everything is an entire package. I can now comfortably say Roadrunner is the best company I've ever worked for. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect, but I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. I am saying they're very good. I am saying you can do a lot worse than this. So if anybody's got any questions, you can leave them below in the comments. I've also got my email down there. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'll get back to you as quick as I can. And then look for that ELD video I mentioned within the next day or two, probably tomorrow. I try to do one video a day, not more than that. So I'll probably sit on that video until tomorrow. But otherwise, if I don't talk to you again before then, have a Merry Christmas. And I want to thank everybody for watching and look forward to talking to y'all more in the new year as well. Have a great day. Bye-bye.